for the kind words. Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
Yes, sir,
yes.
we can hear.
Thank you for the kind words. I would like to thank Dr. Chitra for calling me over. I would be taking up pre-existing PCR with posterior polar cataract with pre-existing PCR. I would be talking with the manual technique because this manual technique is with excess of 99.4% of surgeons. So I would not be taking up this patient with the flax technique, which happens to be a rarity with only 0.6% of Indian surgeons having an excess. So basically the first thing which we need to do is the site of the incision. It should not be parallel to the axis of the PCR. That is the first thing which we should bear in mind. Second is the side port incision. It should be calibrated enough so that there is no fluctuation in the anterior chamber. Capsular rhexis should be, my choice is an oval rhexis because that gives me an advantage of both a small rhexis and a large rhexis, and the arm of the large axis should be at an angle to the PCR. So the large axis part gives me, there's no rise of intracapsular pressure, there's end-to-end sculpting, easy division, easy subincisional cortex, smooth IOL implantation, whereas the smaller axis part gives the advantage that one can always do an easy IOL optic capture. You can have the nuclear piece retention in the bag, and you can tamponade the vitreous as well. Hydrodissection is a big no, because that can cause an extension of the posterior capsule rupture. I did not do an inside out because it was a highly soft cataract and I thought that I would not do it. So I planned the technique which Dr. Vajpayee has advocated, that is dividing the nucleus and the epinucleus mass into different layers, not one layer, 3, 4, or 5 layers, so that I can take them out one by one. Then when I started, you can see the IOP is less, and it will be all with the phaco aspiration, and the ultrasound will not be used. I am taking out the inner core first, and this inner core, I'm taking it out, and I know that I have 3 or 4 layers behind, which is keeping the posterior capsule rupture away from the fluidics. So I'm manipulating the angle of the probe, and I'm gingerly dissociating the inner core from the outer layer so that I'm able to continue. You see how I'm not rotating, trying to just separate it in a very cautious way. So that part done. So I'm just trying now the next part is what to do next. So I'm taking out in the distal part. You just see in this distal part, there is no posterior capsule rupture. The posterior capsule rupture is here. So I will just continue to aspirate the distal part without endangering the fluidics access to the posterior capsule rupture. So now you have to keep the chamber inflated. There should not be a sudden collapse of chamber. Next step is whether I use a bimanual or a coaxial. The preferred choice is the bimanual. But if you have to use a coaxial, you have to retract the sleeve more so that there is a different plane of irrigation and a different plane of aspiration. Another click is that I am going to shield the posterior capsule with the epinuclear mass. I will not aspirate it even when I dislodge it. So I'll go on continuing to aspirate the anterior lamella of the cortex, by which the epinucleus in the proximal part will get dislodged. Once it gets dislodged, leave it there. See how beautifully the epinucleus mass is shielding the posterior capsule. So there is no access direct of the fluidics to the posterior capsule, which can cause hydration and the ultimate consequences. So I'm just doing it very diligently, leaving an epinuclear mass. There is one part which is not fully separated. You will see that it is only, once it is done, it has been taken out. There is not even one single nuclear fragment or a cortical lamella which has gone into the posterior capsule. Just for making things very clear, the next part is These posterior polar cataracts eventually end up with an extension right up to the periphery. But I found that if you do it diligently, using the side port incision with Dr. Haldi Putkar's, micro forceps, you can bring it back even from the periphery. So for that, the chamber has to be adequately deep, and you have to have stable chamber settings to complete the posterior capsulorhexis, which I was able to. I realized that this was a large, a large opening in the posterior capsule. So I just used Triamcinolone, and which I was expecting. There was no vitreous in the AC. A three-piece IOL was introduced. I thought that I will play safe, and I used the oval rhexis to my advantage by doing the optic capture, and you can find how beautifully the IOL is placed in the center. So the surgical strategy involved is that the incision location you have to bear in mind, the sizing and aligning of rhexis is very important. Stable chamber and low fluidics is another. There should not be any exposure of fluidics to PCR. We have to do layer by layer separation of nucleus and epinucleus, strategic epinucleus and cortex removal, optic capture of IOL using the oval rhexis. Thank you very